Okay, now let's look at model view controller. This is step 2 in our animations notes. Okay, so we just had this simple example, which you should be sure you understand. And now we're going to talk about some vocabulary about this and explaining how the basic process works. What we're doing here is called model view controller. Although to be fair, this is a simplified 112 version of MVC or model view controller. Okay, so the model is basically the data we need for our application. We store the model inside the app object. So app.counter in this really simple example is our model. Later on when we draw snake, write snake, we'll talk more about the model there, which is a much more interesting model. But it's the data you need. Okay? The view does nothing more than draw the model. So it draws the app to the user. This is the view right here, redraw all, actually is the function that handles our view. And you notice that the view uses the model. Like right here, it's using app.counter, and that's the model. Okay. Well, we'll see in a second, the view can't change the model. It can only show you or draw the model. And finally, the controller are the functions that respond to keyboard, mouse, timer, and other events. So this is a part of our controller. In fact, in this little app, it's the only part of the controller. So the controller modifies the model. The controller does not modify the view. So the controller doesn't call redraw all, and it certainly doesn't draw anything. It just modifies the model. Okay. So in this separation of concerns, it allows us to do one thing at a time, to set up our model, to change our model in response to events that occurred, and finally to draw our view that lets the user understand what the model is without any fear of that model changing while we're drawing it. Okay, a nice clean separation of concerns. Excellent. So you never call the view or the controllers. You never call key pressed. You never call redraw all. You never call app started even. Those are all called for us by the CMU 112 graphics animation framework. Okay, in response to various events. Cool. Okay. Controllers can only update the model. They cannot update the view. So in particular, key pressed can modify the model, app.counter, but key pressed cannot call redraw all, update the view. And the view can never update the model. So redraw all can use the model, but it cannot modify the model, it cannot update the model. And if you do these things, you have what we call an MVC violation, which we'll look more closely at down below. But for now, just understand these are the rules and that you need to abide by them. The rules help you make clean code that's easier to understand and less likely to have bugs. That's it for Model View Controller.